You sure about this, Ben? I mean, last time you tried this, we almost had to call the fire department. We could just order pizza. It's easy, it's quick, and no one gets hurt.
Nonsense. Real men conquer fire. It's a rite of passage, a test of our primal instincts, and then use it to cook meat. There's nothing more satisfying than the sizzle of meat on the grill.
Jake eyed the charcoal chimney with suspicion, remembering the last BBQ disaster. He took a swig of his beer, hoping it would calm his nerves. Ben, armed with lighter fluid and a disturbingly enthusiastic gleam in his eye, doused the charcoal with reckless abandon. The whoosh of flames as Ben ignited the fluid startled Mrs. Patterson's cat, Mr. Whiskers, into a frenzy, sending him darting across the yard. It also sent a tower of thick black smoke skyward, signaling to the entire neighborhood that the BBQ was in full swing. Ben was engulfed in a choking cloud, his bravado quickly turning into a coughing fit.
See? Conquering. Just like I said. Like Genghis Khan, but with more coughing and less pillaging.
Jake coughed, waving away the smoke, wondering if this was really worth it. He glanced at the pizza menu on the table, contemplating a safer, less smoky option.
Harold, the Johnson boys are at it again. Looks like a satanic ritual this time.
Mrs. Patterson, binoculars glued to her face, peered over the fence.
Just the BBQ? Then explain the billowing smoke and frantic waving, Harold. This is clearly some dark magic.
Harold, engrossed in his stamp collection, mumbled, "Probably just the BBQ, Edna." Meanwhile, Ben, now resembling a coal miner after a double shift, wheezed.
I think I overdid it with the lighter fluid.
There. At least we'll have a good story for the fire department.
Jake patted him on the back. The wail of a siren cut through the chaos, echoing through the quiet suburban streets and sending a signal that help was on the way. Officer Dan, a man who took his BBQ as seriously as his badge, pulled up with a determined look. He was known around the neighborhood not just for his law enforcement skills, but also for his legendary BBQ skills. He'd smelled the smoke from 3 blocks away, a combination of lighter fluid and impending disaster he knew all too well. The scent was unmistakable, a call to action for someone who prided himself on both public safety and perfect ribs.
All right, boys, what have we got here? Officer Dan's voice was authoritative yet friendly, a tone that commanded respect but also put people at ease.
Officer Dan boomed, grabbing his fire extinguisher with one hand and a plate of ribs with the other. It was a sight to behold, an officer ready to tackle both fire and hunger in one go.
Just a little over-enthusiasm, Officer Dan. The voice was tinged with embarrassment, as if admitting to a minor crime.
Jake explained sheepishly, pointing to the inferno masquerading as a grill. The flames were high, the smoke thick, and the smell of charred meat filled the air. Officer Dan surveyed the scene, a mixture of amusement and resignation on his face. He'd seen it all before, overzealous grillers turning a simple BBQ into a fire hazard.
Over-enthusiasm, huh? That's what they all say. Luckily, I brought backup. His voice was lighthearted, but his actions were swift and efficient.
He gestured to the ribs, a reminder that even in the midst of chaos, there was always room for a good meal. The crowd relaxed, knowing that Officer Dan had everything under control. The commotion naturally drew Mrs. Patterson out. Seeing Officer Dan, she marched over, ready to deliver a stern lecture about neighborhood safety and proper charcoal usage.
Officer Dan, these boys are...
Her words died in her throat. Officer Dan was holding out a rack of ribs, glistening with BBQ sauce.
Mrs. Patterson, care for a rib? They're smoked low and slow, just the way you like them.
Edna's resolve crumbled faster than a poorly constructed burger patty.
Well, maybe I overreacted, just a tad.
Under Officer Dan's expert guidance, and with Ben safely relegated to salad duty, the BBQ was salvaged. Burgers sizzled, hot dogs achieved peak char, and even the veggie skewers managed to avoid bursting into flames. As the sun began to set, the aroma of BBQ filled the air, drawing everyone together. Even Mr. Whiskers ventured out, cautiously sniffing the air for stray burger bits.
See, Ben? Who needs pizza when you have slightly charred meat and the threat of a visit from the fire department?
The Great BBQ Fiasco, as it would forever be known, became a legend. It was one of those days that started with the best of intentions and ended with stories that would be told for years. The sun was shining, the grill was fired up, and the air was filled with the sweet smell of anticipation. Everyone was ready for a perfect day. It was a testament to the power of friendship, the kind that can turn even the most chaotic moments into cherished memories. Laughter echoed through the backyard as old friends reconnected and new friendships were forged over shared plates of food and drinks. The importance of fire safety, which became glaringly obvious when the first flames leapt a little too high. Quick thinking and a handy fire extinguisher saved the day, turning a potential disaster into just another funny story to tell. And the universal appeal of a good BBQ. The smell of sizzling burgers and hot dogs brought everyone together, creating a sense of community and shared joy. Plates were piled high, and the food was as much a star of the show as the people. Even Mrs. Patterson had to admit, through a mouthful of potato salad, that the day was a success. Her usual stern demeanor softened as she enjoyed the food and the company, proving that good food and good company can bring out the best in everyone. That sometimes, a little chaos made life a lot more interesting. The spilled drinks, the slightly burnt burgers, and the impromptu dance-offs all added to the charm of the day. It was a beautiful mess that no one would have traded for anything.
I swear off lighter fluid for life, but there's something about the thrill of the grill that keeps calling me back. The excitement, the challenge, and the joy of cooking for friends and family are hard to resist.
The gleam in his eye when he talked about taming the grill suggested that his pyromaniacal tendencies were still alive and well. It was clear that the love for grilling, despite the occasional mishap, was a passion that burned brightly. And really, isn't that what backyard BBQs are all about? It's about the laughter, the food, the slight chaos, and the memories that are made. It's about coming together, enjoying the moment, and creating stories that will be told for years to come.